Welcome. This is Debbie Mayberry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You're here for your kitchen and bath business, managing change with your customers and clients. Just a little bit of quick background. I've been with NKBA for about 6 years, and I've always been in the professional development department. There's been changes throughout with the different things and different focuses that professional development area has been doing. But this particular presentation is something that I've done in the past, not the recent past, but in the distant past. I actually belong to Association for Talent Development as well as SHRM, so that's the Society for Human Resource Management. And I'm actually certified in change management, but I'm a little rusty. But just wanted to mention to you that we're going to go through a lot of material today. We're going to have a really good time. We're going to actually do a lot of interactivity, so that means we're going to use a chat box a lot. We're going to also watch a brief video, and we will write on a whiteboard, and we're going to also do a poll. So I'm hoping that you'll have a chance to interact and will want to interact, because it's going to make this particular presentation a lot more enjoyable for you as well. So let's get started. So what I'd like you to do is just think for a minute about how you feel about change. And this is obviously a text chat type of activity. And then, so what I'd like you to do is just think about one word that best describes how you feel about change. And no, I'm not talking about change, but so some examples. Let's say, how do you feel about a business change? How do you feel about a process change? How do you feel about staff changes? Just put one word into the text chat and let me know how you feel about change. And I'm going to read some of these back. Excited, good. Somebody said refreshed. Somebody said inevitable. Okay, that's a good one. There's some momentum going on there. That's correct. You feel confident about change. It's stressful sometimes. Yes, it is. There's development and growth happening. Very true. Some people are apprehensive. That is very true. It can be disrupting. Absolutely. It generally means growth. Yes, good, good. So we've got some really good information. Stressful, but good. That was in all caps. Thank you. There's a shift of energy. Yes, there is. Again, somebody's saying it's inevitable. Overwhelmed sometimes, but growth potential. There's a lot of uncertainty around change. Hey, I think you guys have got it down. That is true. That is exactly what happens with change. So now I want you to just shift your thinking for a second here. And we're thinking about, so how would your kitchen and bath client feel about change? So think about, okay, you're about ready to go in and you know, you've already gotten the project and you're either going to do their renovation for their kitchen or their bath or both, or maybe their whole house. And so I'd like to know what you think your clients would feel about change, like one word that would describe that. Let's take a look. Nervous, yes. Excited, yes. They're afraid, apprehensive. There's some doubt. They're going to be uneasy. They're going to be apprehensive, stressful, happy. Yes, they're going to be happy when it's done. Absolutely. Are there any other words that you can think of? They're going to be questioning a lot. Absolutely. That's one of the things that a client does. They question you a lot. So you've got to be prepared for that. What are some other things that clients may feel? Doubtful? That's possible as well. Yep, very true. So these are all good things about change. They're worried about their loss of control. That's great. They're going to embrace it? Yeah, you bet they will. But it may take them some time to get there. That's great. Thanks for that. So you're getting the hang of it. So today's agenda is, what is change management? What exactly is it? What is it? What about the importance of change? We're going to talk a little bit about the change curve and reactions to change. And we're also going to talk about how you can move through those changes. There's really about 4 different areas that we're going to focus on. And then I'm going to provide some resources as well. So bear with me here as I am flying solo. And so some of the outcomes for you, you'll be able to assess where you fit on the change curve. During a kitchen or bath project. You'll also be able to assess potentially where your client may fit on that change curve during that kitchen or bath project. You're going to be able to hopefully develop a personal plan for moving your clients through the change process, and you can use those same techniques to help your business colleagues possibly manage some change. So there's a lot of things going on with change. So let me just say that we do have a couple of ground rules. If you want to be here now, I'd like you to participate. I'd like you to ask some questions. And above all, I'd like you to have some fun. So, because that's what this is all about, right? Everybody needs to not only have fun when they're working, but also to understand, um, what something new about change management. So right now, I'm going to put in um, some information for you. I'm going to share, first of all, let me share this link with you in the chat. So just in case you're not able to see it, we're going to watch the video. And then I'm also going to share it with you under the multimedia area. So bear with me here. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. And it takes about 3 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it on the other side. So hang on. Okay, so, okay, hopefully most of you were able to hear and see the video. Um, if not, I'll definitely be supplying it to you. And so I'm just kind of wondering what some of you thought about it. Any thoughts? You can put it into the text chat, see if there's anything that you thought about that particular session. If not, then we'll just move on here. So right now, stay on top of change. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's a good comment. So right now, we're going to practice a little bit. On this next slide, I'm actually going to provide a whiteboard for you. There'll be some tools that you can use. And what we're going to do is, thank you for that comment too. A lack of communication creates a vacuum. Very good. Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about on this next whiteboard here, the benefits of accepting business changes and the pitfalls if you don't change. So we're not going to practice right here on this particular slide because I need to offer you the whiteboard, but I want you to see where these tools are. So there will be a toolbar that will come up. It will be over on the left-hand side, and there's a text tool that you'll need to click on, and then you'll also need to choose a font color. And if for some reason you're not able to get the font color, keep trying. And again, type on the text on that T square there, and then on the font area for the colors. And then all you have to do is position your mouse somewhere on the whiteboard, and you can start typing. For what we're going to do for our first fun exercise, I want you to tell me, so here's the whiteboard, I want you to tell me what your favorite movie is. You can write anywhere on this board and let me know what your favorite movie is. So type on the T, and then type on the color, and then just actually position your cursor somewhere in the whiteboard and tell me what your favorite movie is. If you're not able to do that, you can tell me in the text chat. Oh, you're hearing an advertisement. Okay. You may need to close out the, you're not seeing the menu. Okay. If you can't see the menu and you're not able to access it, just type into the whiteboard what your favorite movie is. And someone said The Holiday. Awesome. I have not seen that one. And let's see, what else? Too many favorites. One is Sabrina. Okay, the original one. Willy Wonka. That's a good one. There's too many. Mention one. Sound of Music. I'm sorry that you're not able to write on the whiteboard, but that's okay. We can type into the chat. A Few Good Men. Okay, Fifth Element. Sorry that the toolbar isn't working. So tell me again. Life is Beautiful. Titanic. Yeah, that was a good one. The Last of the Mohicans. That's an awesome one. Shawshank. Geez, you guys are all the classics. The Philadelphia Story. These are all really good. North to Alaska. The Money Pit. Oh, yeah. Keep typing. Keep typing. All right. Notting Hill. Okay. Awesome. The Lion King. Yeah, I hear there's a new one out. Maybe that's the one you went to see. Out of Africa. Star Wars. Awesome. So you're getting the idea here. So if the whiteboard isn't working, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go back actually to the slide, but keep typing in La La Land. Oh, I wanted to see that. I haven't seen that yet, but I will. And I'm going to go back to the slide here, and I just want to talk a little bit more about some other things that we're going to talk about. So thanks for that information about your favorite movie. That gives you an idea of how we were going to use the whiteboard, but unfortunately, I guess since most of you are having some issues, you're still getting the audio from the YouTube presentation. You will need to close that out. I'm not hearing it, so I apologize if you're hearing that. It should not be playing anymore, so you may just need to like X out of that area. There should be like a little X where you can stop the multimedia presentation, so give that a try. I apologize. Yep, click on the multimedia viewer, and you tried to close it. It does not show up, but the sound is there. Okay, it's not. I don't hear it on my end, so I apologize if you're hearing it on your end, but try to X out. Okay, The Godfather. Okay, I apologize. You can pause. That's true. You can press pause on the multimedia viewer. Or you can completely X out. There should be an X somewhere where you can completely X out on it. So give that a try, and thank you for those suggestions. Right now I want to talk about the importance of change. So since the whiteboard wasn't working for you, I want you to do some thinking about this. So on the left-hand side of the board, on the screen, there are some things about the benefits of accepting and working through business changes. So if you would kindly please type into the chat about the benefits of accepting and working through business changes. That's what I'm looking for. So if you type into the chat, I'm sorry that you're still getting the audio issue. Is there, okay, good. Hang on a second. Let me pull up some of the benefits so I can see that in the chat because you guys are moving along pretty quickly. Learning new ways to do things, keeping up with society, okay, better customer service, growth. Let's see, what else? The benefits are you can change and can promote growth. The benefits are evolve, grow, improve, learn, expand, good, new opportunities, improved efficiencies, revitalize business and create new ideas. Team working together, improving the overall performance of the team, good. Business growth and personal growth, improvement and efficiency, keeping jobs on track. Growth for clients as well as employees, that's a good one. They can be personal, that's true. There's new energy, that's one of the other benefits. Hopefully I didn't miss any of these. I don't think I did. Okay, good, good. So now that we've talked a little bit about some of the benefits of working through change, oh, a chance to start over. That's a good one. Thank you. Here's another one. Process improvement and better efficiency. New beginnings. Excellent. You guys are getting it. For sure. Expanding horizons. Yes, that is true. And that can be true not only for business, but also on the not only in the professional or business level, but also on a personal level. Um, Great lessons learned. That is very true. Okay, so let's talk about things on the right side of the screen here. What are some of the pitfalls if you don't change? Think about that for a second. What would some of the pitfalls be if you don't change? Ah, perfect. Someone wrote in caps. You may be left behind. Stagnation. Keeping up with competition. That's vital. Becoming obsolete in your field. Shrinking profits. Business becomes dated. Yes, very much so. Person gets left behind. Someone else said fall behind. You fall behind your competitor. You don't remain competitive. You stagnate, and you're not relevant to the current marketing and trends. That is so true. No clients, as you cannot compete. Ah, so that's a good point. So your clientele may fall off. And as someone else mentioned, you've lost business. Your business becomes a failure. Wow. I think you guys are getting this. That is very, very true. Well, I thank you for all that information and keep putting it in there. If you want to, I'm going to try to move on a little bit here. Hopefully none of you are hearing that video any further, and if you are, you may want to log out and log back in. That might help with a video issue. I apologize for that. So let's think about some categories of change. Some of the categories can be environmental. They're changes that occur and can be affected on 3 levels. So one of them is environmental, that happens within the world. We're all in this world together, so we're very much aware of environmental changes, especially now taking place, I think. I think there's been much more of a focus on it. There are organizational changes that can happen in your company, but there are also organizational changes that can happen within your home. And then on an individual level, there are changes within each of us. So let's see, we can think of some actual examples of each of these on all 3 levels. One of the things that I'm thinking about is on the environmental level is economics. So as an example, a change for economics might be that interest rates are changing. Obviously that can affect what your client might do with their project. It also might affect whether or not they decide to actually even go through buying a house and updating that house. There's also economically on an international trade level. You may be seeing some things that are being affected now with some of the trade situations that are going on with different governments throughout the world. Another environmental type of thing might be technology. So that might include computers. Obviously, it always includes computers because that's what we're all working with today. We have all different types of computer systems. The 2 main that come to mind are PC and Mac, but there are different types of computer systems and software that people are working with. There are also improvements in technology when it comes to, as an example, what I think of would be x-rays. So a lot of different things are happening in the scientific world and the health world. And also, I think another focus that's recently come back into play with the 50 years of Man on the Moon that just happened over the weekend. Technology involves space travel. So I think a lot of things that are being looked at today are not only on a government level in space travel, but also the privatization of space travel, which is something that could be new and changing in the upcoming couple of years. So on the organizational level, some of the processes that might be changing, and/or you're thinking about making some process changes at your organization. It's possible that you work for a large company and there's new leadership that's been put in place, and that you are trying to, you either are the leader or you are experiencing a leadership change in your area. On an individual level, some of the changes could be experiencing are in health, or someone that you know that's a family member that are experiencing health changes. There could be changes in your family life and/or changes in a job. So there's a lot of different types of change that could be occurring. So let's take a little bit closer look at that, and let's, by using the text chat and thinking about the environmental change category, what comes to mind for you out there in the audience about environmental change when it comes to a kitchen or bath remodel? Somebody typed in green. Awesome. So thinking about environmentally, there we go, within the world, the 2008 crash. Yes, that affected many people. Green design, sustainability, codes, changes in codes, absolutely. Changes in materials, sustainable products and practices, again, sustainable. People are conscious of water usage. That is very, very true, especially if you live in a certain part of the country and/or the world. There are global design trends that are happening out there, and there's also cost, absolutely. So those are really, really good things to be thinking about. The amount of resources and availability to alternative resources, absolutely. These are great. I think you guys are getting the idea. But and I'm glad that we're doing this interactive exercise recycling. Tariffs, yes, absolutely. Those are affecting how business runs as well. I totally, totally agree. Downsizing appliances, oh, that's interesting. Great. So I think you guys have the idea here. So let's take a look at this from the standpoint of the organization. So using the text chat and the category that's circled, let's think about some organizational changes that might come to mind when you're working on a kitchen or bath remodel. Here, systems, processes, communication, great. And that doesn't mean communication could be either positive or negative. Social media, yes, definitely. That's definitely affects an organization. Position changes, new hires, promotions, software changes, absolutely. I think we probably deal with software upgrades and changes probably on a very regular basis. Keeping up with new products and offerings, what the client is looking for, keeping up with new ideas. There are cabinet lines that are going out of business. That's an interesting thought. The cost of doing business itself is an organizational change, absolutely. What is considered in a standard design? Non-adherence to standard operating processes. The vendor products change, yes, they do, and sometimes they change without us even knowing it. Taking on new cabinet lines, yep, those are some great organizational changes. So as you can figure out, what we're doing here with the process here is the next type of category that we're going to take a look at and using a text chat is on an individual basis. So using the circled item here on the individual basis, what words come to mind for a kitchen or bath remodel? Now this could be from your perspective as the designer. It could be from the client's perspective. So let me know what you're thinking. Somebody said resignations. I think that was for organizational change, but that could also be individual. Time constraints because of spouse retirement. Desire for personal professional growth. There's apprehension. Some of the things that come in place, aging in place, might be something that your client is thinking about Absolutely. Or you as the designer is thinking about for your client. Absolutely. Expand your knowledge. That is definitely something. Topics to bring up and to discuss with customers. Gaining new information to share. Yes, those are things that as an individual and or as a designer or anyone that's working out there in the field can be doing. Financial concerns, managing expectations. That's a big one. Absolutely. Hey, these are great. I'm so glad that you're participating and finding this to be valuable. Personal life, absolutely. There's lots of things that change in a person's personal life. So that said, thank you. Working with the newest lighting trends. Yep, that's absolutely something else out there. So that said, we're going to take a look at the journey through change. And this is something that you may or may not have seen before. This particular change feature here is something that was provided by Jeff and Linda Russell from the Association for Talent Development, which is now Talent Development itself. But this is obviously from about over 10 years ago, but it's still very, very much valid. So we're going to review the 4 phases of this change curve. As you can see here, number 1 is labeled comfort and control, and that's kind of where this starts out, as you can see by this arrow here in the center, the black arrow. So in the second one, in the lower corner, is resistance. The third one, in the other right-hand lower corner, is experimentation, and then in the upper right-hand area is commitment. So that's just the basis of the change curve. And then on the next area here, we're going to talk about this, the comfort and control. So here in this area, in this part of the curve, the graphic represents feelings. A lot of it is going to be based around feelings. So this is where things start out. And in the beginning, when there's a change, someone might hear about a change, someone in your organization, or even you are affected by this, obviously. So you're hearing about the change, you're becoming aware of a change, that it's on the horizon. So that change may take the form of rumors or rumblings. I'm sure that this has happened to some of you out there in the field. Or it may be something sudden and unexpected, as some of you have said in the text chat here about certain cabinet lines that completely closed. I know of one in particular that I can think of. So sometimes, or one of the other things that could happen in an organization is someone abruptly leaves the organization, and that can absolutely be a change. So the change curve stays fairly consistent in the beginning of this phase, and people naturally will deny or be in denial about a change that is occurring. And oftentimes people who are in denial try to keep things as they are. And as you begin to move toward the next phase, the curve starts to dip down, as you can see by that black arrow. So let's take a look here on that next area here and see what that looks like. So this is the resistance phase, okay? So the change is out there, people are aware of it, it can become disruptive and very personally upsetting sometimes. Sometimes people wake up from the comfort and control or denial area and realize and experience just how upset they really are about this change. They can feel fear, they can be angry, they can like dig in their heels and be resistant. And so this is where the change curve dips down here, which illustrates the negative feelings, but not only the negative feelings, but also a drop in productivity that can be seen as a result of the change. So this is definitely something to keep in mind when changes occur. And this change curve will help explain some of that. So here we are on the third quadrant of this change curve, experimentation. And this is where people may shift their point of view, and they may see change as a threat, going from a threat, I should say, to seeing it as an opportunity. This change curve begins to move up again. There's just a slight upward movement there. And you move into the phase where people are acknowledging their feelings, they're accepting that the change is necessary, and they're knowing why it's necessary and how important it is, even if it's not welcome. So you're kind of a person in this phase is during the experimentation area. They're now more than halfway through this transition, and they may be looking at, oh, they're inquiring, they're asking questions, they're experimenting with the change, they're discovering possibly new ways of dealing with the change and or how it's going to propel them forward. So let's take a look at the final quadrant here. And that final quadrant is actually known as the commitment phase. So this is a phase where people have reached what some people call, they've made a decision to accept the change. They've made that choice that, hey, you know what, I'm going to accept this change. No matter what it is, whether they have to or they aren't, they have to decide that they have to make that decision for themselves, actually. But also in this phase, as you can see with the black arrow, things are moving upward again. Productivity can be regained. People are feeling stronger and better able to face potentially what might be the next change on the horizon, because guess what? Change is a constant. The goal is actually to reach this commitment level. So the change curve is back to where we started, and you're back on even ground, believe it or not, where you can see up there at the very top where it says stability. So that's a good thing. So people can often zigzag back and forth between the resistance and experimentation phase or exploration phase. It's often like a person that's putting their toe into the water, whether it be, you know, the ocean, let's say, that's an analogy. So they're putting their toe into the cold ocean, and then they pull back, then they go back and they put their ankles in, and then they pull back, etc. I think you guys get the idea. So it's sometimes you do fall backwards a little bit before we can move forward. But the goal is to recognize that this helps people move through reactions more quickly and smoothly, so that they're ready for any of the next changes that might occur, because as I mentioned, change never stops. So let's take a look at how this might work in real life. So let me just move forward here. So some of you may know what these things are, so in the text chat, type it in. Let me know what you think they are. You can share with everybody. You may or may not have seen these items, but you probably have. Right, credit card, swiper, Square, mobile payments. Exactly, that's exactly what these are. So one of the things that I want to ask you is, how many of you are using one of these with your clients? Type into the chat. Let me know how many of you are using one of these devices. Yeah, somebody said accepting credit card business can cost more, but may have a benefit. You are, awesome. Not yet, not using it, used it before, not using it at this time. No, not using it. Okay. So how do you feel, how did you feel about using it in the beginning if you're somebody that has already used it? Did you feel a little like apprehensive about using it, or did you feel like, hey, I'm going to just try this out and go for it? Let me know what you thought about that in the text chat. Ah, you didn't want to pay the fees. I don't blame you. You have a Square and a credit card. Awesome. Wondering what the additional fees might cost you? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So those are some things that come to mind. Great. So let's use this example as we're walking through how people react during a typical business change. You have to identify theft concerns. Absolutely. That is a huge thing right now, for sure. So let's take a look at identifying this. So when people are in this phase, and I know we just talked about this, but when people are in the comfort and control phase or the denial phase, in terms of mobile payments, a person may go along with it, normal work, and never acknowledge that such a thing is possible. If someone is in a company and suggests using a Square reader for their credit card payments, they may not want to continue using it because they may not feel really comfortable about using it. And sometimes a customer may ask or may not feel even comfortable with using it. So when a person's in this comfort and control phase, as we talked about in the curve just earlier, they may appear calm, may act as if nothing is happening, they may avoid the topic of change altogether, they only want to do routine things, they're going to focus on details, and guess what? They might blame others for their difficulties. So this is one of the things that happens when people are in denial about change. So let's take a look at some of the other feelings that might occur when someone is in the resistance phase. So someone in the resistance phase knows that a change is coming. They may doubt or go into panic mode. They frequently may show anger. And guess what? They might complain a lot. Oh, I want to read some of the things here in the text chat. So someone said they've accepted bank transfers in lieu of credit card costs. Okay. Better to grab a deposit via Square than to not get a deposit at all. Good point. So here's some of the things that people may feel when they're resistance. Again, this can apply to you. It can apply to your client. It can apply to your colleagues. But we're talking about people that are in resistance. And oftentimes, people will feel a loss of power or that they're not valued anymore. They're trying to figure out where they fit into the scheme of things. They may even doubt their abilities. They're concerned about adding additional work to their already full plate of responsibilities. Some people might show anger. Yes, that is a possibility. Some people may doubt the wisdom of the decisions that are being made, and some people might complain, and they might complain a lot. So these are all different features that you may experience, or your colleagues or your clients, as you're going through these different changes that may occur. So let's take a quick look at experimentation. This is when a person says, well, you know what, hey, maybe this can work after all. The person is exploring the use of a square reader in this particular example, but we can also think of other examples where someone is exploring, like, hey, you know, you have that new set of cabinets out there, and they're not so sure that they like what you've put into their kitchen, but hey, you know what, maybe it might grow on them because this isn't quite exactly what they were expecting. A customer might decide that they like, getting back to the square, that they like the convenience of using a square. You, as the designer or the person that's out there in the field, might decide that you like using a square and that you can also get electronic receipts. So at this point in a phase of this change curve, someone's thinking about what they can do. They're thinking about how they're going to make the best of the change. They're just gaining a little more momentum. They're feeling a little more energetic. They feel that maybe they can work together a little bit better with the team once they've, decided that, hey, you know what, we need to work together as a team if we're going to accomplish what needs to be done. They also start to create a new vision potentially, and they also may seek help from each other. So that is really something that also can be occurring when people are going through these changes. So let's take a look at the next and final phase that we were talking about. So people in commitment. So let's finish up with this. This is when the person now sees how simple a new mobile payment process can be. Again, it could be you. It could be your client. They see how green it is. They feel that they can effectively use it. The customer may wish that all of their transactions could be done this easily. So that's a good thing that coming from you as the designer or the person out there in the field, that someone actually wants to work with mobile payments. So once again, some of the things that you might see from people, and this doesn't just apply to mobile payments, but it could be anything that you're experiencing as far as change. So people in commitment, they're feeling more motivated to succeed. They feel confident. They feel like they're back in control again. Again, don't forget that's up at the top of that area is stability. Things are coming back to a stable environment. They feel that they're working more effectively. They feel that they can be accountable for the results that will be coming out of this change, and they feel more confident about what they are actually doing. So that said, let's take a look here, and I'm going to actually run a poll. So hopefully you can see the poll. So I'm going to run a poll. I'm going to open it up. This is just going to be one question. And the question is, so where do you fit? Where do you think that you fit on this currently, right now, no matter what change you're experiencing, whether it be, on the job, whether it be in a personal type of situation? Let me know where you think you fit right now. So I'm going to open the poll. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to answer. There's one answer. Okay, some people are answering. I appreciate that. going to share the poll here in just a minute or two. So keep it coming. Let's be honest about it. No one needs to know because they're not going to know who you are that's answering. So I'm going to give this just another 30 seconds or so. And I'm going to share the poll with everybody. So let me just pull that open here. Okay. So you're going to see this out here on the screen in 1 second. Bear with me. About another 5 seconds or so, and then I'm going to share the poll so we can all get an idea where we feel that we are with the results. So that's interesting. Some of you felt that you were, let me go from A to D here. So some of you felt, 3% of you felt that you were in comfort and control. 4% of you felt that you were in resistance. 37% of you felt that you were in the experimentation phase. That's good. And then 12% of you said that you're in the commitment phase. That's pretty awesome. That really, I think that really shows a lot about where people are. So thank you so much for answering that. And let me move on. So next we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to try to keep things rolling here. We're going to talk about reactions to change. So we just saw an example of handling the change in terms of mobile payments. We talked a little bit about that. So we're going to take a look at 4 different change scenarios, some of which could be your colleagues or customers. And we're going to go through each one and take a look one at a time at each scenario. And then we're going to select the areas that you feel that person falls on the change curve. We're going to use a text chat for this. So let me just get started here. So we're going to talk about AJ for a second. So AJ belongs, I'm going to read this to you so everybody can see it. AJ belongs to the same NKBA chapter as you. Recently, you both attended a workshop that included a discussion about using social media as a business tool. And he commented that he thought it was ridiculous. Who has the time to send texts and tweets? The internet is already ruining my business. Imagine that. Social media makes things worse. So if you guys can tell me where you think, let me just move this over to the next area, where you think AJ may fit on the change curve by using the text chat. I'm going to open up the text chat so that I can see it. And let me know where you think, aha, interesting. Some of you say 2. Okay, so you think he's in phase 2. Awesome. Just move that text chat here a little bit more so I can see your responses. A lot of people are saying 2. Good. Okay. Somebody said 1, but could be 2. All right. So let's check it out. Let's see where he's at. Actually, I apologize. Let me just see where we had that on the slide. Okay. So let me just move through. Well, actually, there is supposed to be another slide here, but it didn't show up. So anyway, some of you said 2. A couple of you said number 1. AJ is actually in the comfort and control phase. So some of his behaviors where he acts as if nothing's happening. He only wants to do routine things. He focuses on details. He blames others. In this case, the internet for his difficulties. So he's not accepting the reality of the situation. The internet and social media, are obviously here to stay. And whether or not he likes it, he figures he'll have to figure out a way to work with it, or his business probably will suffer. So thanks for those answers. Let's take a quick look here at who's next. So Stephanie is up next. She's a certified kitchen designer. Earlier this year, her company made the decision to switch to a different CAD design software. She had to learn the program from scratch, and she says, now that I have some experience with the new software, I know it's much better. I'm so happy. So I know you guys are already anticipating where we're going to be here with this. So let me just get over to the next slide and want to know where you think she might be. Some of you said 4, some of you said 3. Okay, 3s and 4s. That's what we're getting here. So actually, let's see. She is going to be, she's in the commitment phase. You guys have guessed it right. Most of you that said 4, absolutely. She's motivated to succeed now that she's learned the program. She feels confident about it. She feels comfortable with that change. She thinks that she's able to work more effectively. She knows what she's doing. She's definitely accepted that situation. So that's right. You guys are getting the hang of this for sure. So let's take a look at the next person. So this is James. James is a homeowner. He's you're working with him on a kitchen remodel. He had a specific cabinets in mind and the products in mind, but they wouldn't be available for several months. So guess what he decided to do? He decided that he wanted some alternatives that would be suggested by you, the designer. So after installation, he said with a smile, "Hey, you know what? These aren't exactly the cabinets that I wanted, but they're kind of growing on me, and I kind of like them." So where do you think that James ended up being on the change curve here? Let's take a look here. Give me some stuff in the chat. Let me know what number you think he's at. Most of you are saying 3. Well, you guys are pretty smart. That's right. He's in the experimentation phase. And some of his behaviors that are being identified is that, you know what, he's making the best of the change. Even though those cabinets that he really, really wanted weren't available when he wanted them, you suggested a new change, and he felt, hey, you know what, I kind of like these. He felt energized again about the project that you're working on, that you're able to create this new vision of his kitchen, and that he was open to seeking the help from you, even though he was initially disappointed. But what he decided was that he was going to go with your suggestion. We were able to convince him by having an open mind about what the possibilities might be for choosing some different cabinetry that wasn't quite what he wanted. And he decided that, you know what, I'm going to work with you on this, and we're going to have a winning kitchen overall. So good. You guys did a good job. And then finally, we're going to work with Helene. She's a new homeowner who's come to you about a bath remodel. You've been discussing various options, and each time you make a suggestion, she has trouble deciding if she likes it. And she's thinking like, you know what, I really had bad luck with my old house. Everything went wrong, and I just don't want it to happen again. So where do you think she is on the change curve for this particular project? Give me some ideas. Most of you are saying number 2. Yeah, lots of you are saying number 2. And guess what? You're absolutely right. She is in the resistance phase. So let's identify some of her behaviors. She's doubting her ability to move forward with this project. Even though there may have been a good decision made, I think she's showing a little bit of anger. She's doubting maybe even the wisdom of her decision, or maybe even your decision. And she's complaining. So she's definitely letting the past about the former project that she had in her old house, letting it cloud her ability to move ahead with this project. She's nervous about making a decision, and for even maybe allowing you to make the decision, and she just can't get past that initial design phase at all. So you guys have done a great job with identifying these behaviors. Let's just quickly summarize. So in this exercise so far, here's what we've learned. As you all said, most of you said that AJ was in the denial or comfort and control area, so he was in the first quadrant. Helene was definitely in the second quadrant of feeling resistance, fear, anger, resistance. James, even though he didn't get those cabinets that he wanted, he was in the experimentation phase with all of you. He was asking some questions of you as the designer in the field, and he was willing to experiment, willing to discover something different. So he was definitely in the third quadrant. And then, of course, number 4 with Stephanie. She was already in that commitment phase. She taught herself how to learn that new software, and she was feeling pretty confident about it. So what's up next? Let's see. So now what? What can we do or say to help people move through commitment? Well, one of the things that we can think about is this journey through that change. So in the text chat, give me some ideas about how you may have helped AJ try to get through the the denial phase that he's in. Somebody's already typing something in. I understand your feelings. We can work one-on-one with him to learn. Let them know that you hear them and understand. That's great. That you guys are like identifying the fact that, you know what, it's important that you need to recognize the fact that somebody is going through something and that they may need to be understood before they can move to the next phase. Someone said, explain how the changes can be beneficial to that person. Absolutely. So let's take a quick review here. I want to be mindful of your time. So helping somebody accept the inevitable phase of denial and talk about it with them, as some of you have mentioned. Help others face that reality, talk about the change in a positive tone, help them realize how the change will benefit them, point out small successes that they're having, and communicate. I think some of you have already said that a lack of understanding often leads to confusion and denial because there isn't enough information being communicated to the people that are out there. So thinking about that, let's quickly go through Helene. So how would, if you could type in some suggestions about how you get Helene to move through that resistance phase. You know, if she was feeling fear, she was feeling some anger, she was definitely feeling resistant about wanting to move forward with the project. So given that, what kind of things might you suggest to help her break the change down into smaller steps? That's a really good suggestion. Are there any others out there? Confirm that you will be with her every step of the way. Show her some renderings. Awesome. What's the worst that could happen? It's not, and this is not so bad. That's a good thought. Assure that you will assist her step by step and confirm with her your experience. So that's a really good thought. That hey, you've got some experience out there, and that you can actually say some different things about projects. So just to quickly go through this, you can create opportunities to talk with them, help them express their negative feelings, help them to focus on what lies ahead, as some of you have already said. Absolutely, you're all in this together, you're not alone. We can get through it together. So in resistance, the person really wants to vent, and they want to be heard. And have her speak with other clients about their success stories. That is an awesome suggestion. So that is really, really some good stuff here that I'm hearing from you. Again, we're going to go with James. As you remember, James didn't get quite the cabinetry that he wanted, but what kind of things could you have suggested to James to help him see that, hey, you know what, even though we're not working with those cabinets that you wanted, what can we suggest to James to help him get through, moving forward on the project about those cabinets? If you want to type in the text chat for a minute or two, I'm going to try to move this along because we don't have much time. But I just wanted to also have some thoughts about how to move James, discuss the benefits of the changes. Again, absolutely. Right. So you can see another client that has used the same cabinets. That may ease his concerns, encourage, show positive features of the new cabinets. Ooh, I like that. That's a great idea. Right, absolutely. You help them think about and select the best options, help them to ask questions, determine what would be beneficial and the best use of their time or energy in some cases. Again, the person is trying out the new process. So what may be better about these or his original selection? Absolutely. Show the comparison. Show him he may have gotten even more than he anticipated. Absolutely, absolutely. That is really good information. So then finally with Stephanie, I guess the main goal here is how do we help people to stay in the commitment level area? How would you, in typing in the text chat, how would you help people stay in the commitment phase where they're open to learning, where things can be stable, they're accepting and they're committing to things? Some of the suggestions here on the screen are they can focus on continual improvement and review what has been accomplished. And you know what, one of the keep people informed regularly, absolutely. Get additional training to help utilize the product even better. Absolutely. Speaking to them positively about previous experiences through change, reinforce that they are a valued team member. Boy, that goes a long way. Show gratitude for their ability to move forward, reinforce their decisions. Absolutely. And you know what? One of the things we haven't really talked about, find out why they miss what they miss about the previous software and help them show them what can be done with the new software. Awesome. So, one of the things we haven't talked about was celebrate. Take a break, have some fun. Let people know that, you know what, that is really something that, yeah, absolutely. Tell them how much the client loves their new design capabilities. Absolutely. So since we only have a few minutes, I want you to consider some things, especially consider developing your own resources. This helps to set expectations when you're with your clients or possibly working with your colleagues. You can provide handouts or checklists. You can provide some simple videos. Again, I'm thinking more on the client level here. You can also provide some blog posts. What else can you think of? There's some other things that you can use for resources. Some of the things that I've suggested here are a kitchen remodel, 7 must-know tips before you get started. This could be from the client's point of view. I will share these items with you with other handout materials. There's also a small bathroom remodel design YouTube video that can be shown to clients. One of the some of the additional resources that were used for this particular presentation today, for the change curve, I use the HRDQ Mastering the Change Curve by Dennis Jaffe and Cynthia Scott. These are found at hrdq.com. Also use some information about leading change training by Jeffrey and Linda Russell. They are with they provided that information. The Association for Talent Development, also found at td.org. And then there's further reading that you can do on your own. Google searching, businessballs.com. Again, I will provide this information to you in handouts. And then just as the session closes, so this is what you were able to find out today. You kind of learned a little bit about where you fit on the change curve, about where your client fits on the change curve. You had some ideas about developing a personal plan. I've given you some ideas about techniques that you can use to help your clients and or your business colleagues. And I want to thank you. And I'm going to open it up for questions. We have just a couple of minutes. And I'm going to read some comments here. While each project is unique, there are things that occur in each one. I love having a packet I can give a client that helps inform them about what to expect as their project goes on. That's a great suggestion, Lynn. Thank you. And thank you so much for telling me that you love this presentation. I really appreciate it. We missed the first part due to clients, and I will definitely send you the recording. Thank you again for being here today. At this point, if there aren't any further questions, I'm going to stop the recording, and I will stay here.